Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. I'm not quite sure what's been going on in my World of Warships videos lately because we've had some absolutely amazing player names, and today is no exception. This is, are you ready for this? This is Lord Quack, King of the Ducks. And he's in a, well, it's tier 7 mostly. Both teams have one tier 6 destroyer, but yeah, destroyers, they'll be fine. Tier 7 ranked battle here on the Tears of the Desert map. More affectionately known, at least by everybody who isn't in a cruiser, as the Tears of the Cruisers map. And that's definitely going to be true today because there's only one cruiser on each team. The matchmaking in this battle is really rough for those two cruisers. I mean, 2 destroyers on each team, that's not too much of an issue, but 3 battleships. Yeah, cruisers, crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside. Battleships do love to om nom nom down on them cruisers. Speaking of battleships, Lord Quack is obviously in a battleship. This is the Scharnhorst. Clearly, just by looking at it, you can tell it's the Black Friday version. Yes, it's a premium version of a premium battleship. It's all suddenly getting very, very meta. The Scharnhorst is a good ship, though. It's fast. Its armour is fine. Better than average, actually. The secondaries are amazing, at least by tier 7 standards. I mean, we're not talking like USS Massachusetts or the Bismarck here or anything, but they are pretty good. The guns are a bit of a mixed bag. They're definitely not bad, but you won't be smashing, well, angled anything other than maybe destroyers with these things because of the relatively low caliber, at least by battleship standards. The Scharnhorst has 9 283mm guns. Yeah, fairly weedy by battleship standards. But entirely suitable for the purpose for which the Scharnhorst was designed. This ship was never supposed to challenge other Royal Navy battleships. It was a commerce raider. It was supposed to slip out into the Atlantic and play merry hell with the North Atlantic convoys, and it was eminently good at doing exactly that. It was fast enough to run away from anything that outgunned it, and it outgunned anything that could catch it. It was built for slaughtering cruiser and destroyer escorts and then ramaging around unchecked amongst North Atlantic convoys, while being fast enough to run away from any battleship escort groups that were close enough to respond. So 283mm guns were absolutely fine for that purpose. Here in World of Warships, however, 283mm armor piercing shells, while they've got very good shell velocity and pretty good penetration values, the caliber is just not large enough to overmatch more than 19mm of armor plating, which means that you can successfully bully tier 5 battleships who only have 19mm of bow and stern plating, and the side plating of tier 6 and 7 light cruisers, but that's it. No, by the way, I said side plating, not side belt armour. You're not going to overmatch anybody's belt armour with 283mm guns. In fact, you struggle to overmatch most people's belt armour with 16-inch guns. But for basically everything else, you pretty much need a nice big, flat, juicy broadside to shoot at with these guns. And if that situation arises, or you're good enough to put the Scharnhorst into a position where it can make that happen, you can get some impressive damage numbers with this thing. And thanks to that fast 20-second reload, that damage can mount up very, very quickly. The other benefit, yeah, we'll call it a benefit, of having these sort of lower caliber battleship guns is that you tend to not simply over-penetrate when you're firing at light cruisers. Like that. Big old juicy citadel on the Chumfon there. It was unfortunate that he couldn't kill him because I'm pretty sure that thing has deep water torpedoes. And the Scharnhorst doesn't have hydro. Speaking of the torpedo threat, yeah, it's time to motor on out of here. He's attracting an awful lot of fire. Fortunately, even though he is now down to half health and has a fire burning, he is quick and agile enough in this ship to easily be able to put that island between himself, any torpedoes that the Gallant might have tried to launch, and I'm pretty sure we just saw some torpedoes from the Chumfon there, slamming harmlessly into the island. Speaking of the Chumfon, Where the hell did he go? Is he behind the island up? Yeah, he is. Oh, you may have noticed that as he did the diversion around the island to get away from the Gallant and the Chumfon's torpedoes, that Lord Quack launched torpedoes of his own because, yes, the Scharnhorst also has torpedoes. Got a launcher on each side. They only have a 6-kilometre range, but the firing angles are really, really good. And based on the fact that he has the close quarters expert skill activated, I think it's fairly safe to assume that Lord Quack's Scharnhorst captain is heavily specialised into secondaries, which isn't unusual on a German battleship. Oh dear. The Chumfon clearly didn't learn his lesson the first time. Oh, but it was the friendly Aviary who actually got the kill with the torpedoes. Well, that's fine. That's very good, in fact. Lord Quack got the shots off. It didn't actually kill the Chumfon, which meant if the Aviary hadn't torpedoed him, the Chumfon would have been able to get his torpedoes away, and this match would have ended very, very differently. But that didn't happen, so good job, friendly destroyer. Oh, look, and bless him, he's even laying the smoke screen. Oh, no, hang on, wait a minute. I'm an Eaton Bitter. That's an Italian destroyer, isn't it? So that's an exhaust smoke generator. It's a high-speed smoke, which is only really good for him. But, well, whatever, it's the thought that counts. This is going to be a bit of a problem, though. That's an enemy Scharnhorst 43, which is, well, it's a Scharnhorst, but it's the 1943 version. A sort of what if the Scharnhorst had actually survived until 1943. The two ships are very, very similar, except the Scharnhorst 43 actually has better secondaries. Also has torpedoes, so, yeah. And you don't want to be sailing out and engaging that guy in front of the Colorado as well. Or do you? You don't. Not unless you've got an ace up your sleeve. And right now he just doesn't have enough health to challenge both of those ships at the same time. That's something like 80,000 hit points worth of enemy battleships around the corner of this island. You don't take that on in a hurry. You wait for the rest of your team to soften them up a little bit. Or you pray for a... well, it wasn't bad. He's only got the 3 guns from the rear turret to fire here, but those torpedoes are looking good. Maybe? Possibly? 1? He set a fire with the secondaries. Ah, the torpedoes just missed. Oh well, never mind. Oh, I'm not sure this is a good idea. I mean, I appreciate you have to turn to avoid an island. Actually, no, this is fine, because the enemy... avoiding the torpedoes forced the enemy Scharnhorst 43 to turn, which means his guns are not pointing in this direction, which means you've got time to execute this turn, hopefully, without getting your own broadside smacked. Yeah, I don't think he quite got to where he wanted to be, but he was forced to start turning away. And then again, I mean, the enemy Scharnhorst 43 only has its rear turret pointing this way, and he still managed to get an island between himself and the Colorado. This is actually turning into a fair fight. We're not especially fond of fair fights around here, though. I always say that if you ever find yourself in a fair fight, then you clearly failed to prepare properly. Because it's your job to make the fight as unfair as possible for the enemy. Oh... now he's trying to get into cover from the Colorado, but oh no, he's managed to get 1 turret's worth of... well, first of all, that was 2 turrets worth, and that was 16-inch armour piercing, so that could have been a lot worse. Fortunately, the Colorado is not the most terribly accurate of battleships out there. He's got the island between himself and the Colorado, but by the time he comes around the other side of the island, the Colorado is probably going to have reloaded, so he's going to need to want to start angling against the Colorado's 16-inch guns, because those things hurt. But hang on a second, Jingles. I mean, he had the island between himself and the Colorado. He could have just stayed there and continued to trade shots with the Scharnhorst 43. I mean, you just made a big song and dance about how if you find yourself in a fair fight, then you've failed to prepare sufficiently. But Lord Quack is deliberately choosing to put himself back into an unfair fight. I mean, what's going on here? Is he crazy? Well, yeah. But he's crazy like a fox. Remember, the Scharnhorst has torpedoes. 1 launcher per side. It only has 3 tubes per launcher, and they only have a 6-kilometre range, but both of those targets are within 6 kilometres. There is no way whatsoever that Lord Quack is going to survive this. But that's fine. He doesn't have to, because his team's at 950 points. And if he can get 2 kills to trade for his 1 death... Oh dear, is that a flood? I think it is. Oh, and is that a flood? I think that's a flood too. And there's the double strike, the flesh wound award, and the victory. And claiming the victory with the signature move that has been aspired to by every battleship player that's on with Torpedo since somebody first saw Gneisenau doing it many, many years ago. There was, believe it or not, actually a time when the Gneisenau was considered not a bad ship at all, because you could sail right between 2 enemy battleships and take them out with your torpedoes. Technically, torpedo-armed cruisers have always been able to do that. They just could never pull it off because they didn't have the armour and the hit points sufficient to survive the beating that they took while they tried to do it. You needed a battleship for that. And the Tirpitz was the first battleship introduced into the game that was actually armed with torpedoes, and it didn't take people long to figure out you could do exactly that with the Tirpitz. But then when the rest of the German battleships were introduced, people also realised that, oh, you can do this in the Gneisenau as well. And there was actually a time when the Gneisenau was not considered completely shit because it could pull that move off. Unfortunately, the glory days were limited. People soon wised up to those tricks, and they just stopped putting themselves into situations where Gneisenaus or Tirpitzes or any kind of battleship armed with torpedoes could pull that kind of move off. But every now and then somebody forgets. And so Lord Quack, King of the Ducks, managed to pull it off today. So congratulations on the victory, Your Majesty, and thank you so much for sending this one in. It triggered a heartwarming sense of nostalgia in me for the days when this game used to be a hell of a lot better. But I hope you all had fun watching him do it. It was kind of amusing. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.